Well, thank you once again for allowing me to come into your home and visit with you. We're off the back deck and we're inside again. Boy, it's cool today, and I hope that's not the last time we'll be out on the deck, but it could be, because next it's coming the snow and the good winter, and then we wait again for spring to come. Hey, don't forget Samaritan's Purse, the Christmas boxes. We're working on that. The kickoff, again, will be October the 25th, and we'll close on November the 15th. But so start collecting supplies, things that you can put in the boxes. They are on their way. We already have the folders are here, and so we're getting excited and looking forward to that. We're going to need some help, like in past years, people to man the table, to answer questions and help those who bring in their boxes, that kind of thing. So you'll have opportunity next week in class time to sign up for that, and I hope that many of you will. It's a great opportunity to minister, a great opportunity to meet people. Most of them you probably won't even know, but it'll be a great opportunity to get to know them. I don't know if you watched on last Saturday, the march, the prayer march in Washington, D.C., but very impressive. I think they said around 50,000 people were there, and we trust that God will use that. Now, don't forget, we're going to be meeting October the 11th, right after the 8 o'clock meeting. The 8 o'clock service will be down in gym number 1, which is the one closest to the kitchen area. Right across from the kitchen. We're going to be wearing masks just like we do at church in the service. That we'll be socially distancing in the gym. It's big enough that we can spread out, and you'll be able to wear your mask through the class time, or you can take it off in a section that'll be available for that. But let's, as we come together, let's be respectful. There are people who have pre-existing conditions and who have to be very careful, and we want them to feel welcome, and we want to make sure that they feel comfortable as well. There'll be no food. I know that's discouraging to some of you. No food or beverages. We don't want to get into that yet. We trust that shortly we'll be able to develop into those areas as well. There'll be no roving mic either for sanitation purposes. We're not going to do that, but here's what we would like to do. We would like you to write out on a piece of paper your prayer request or your notes of praise, and especially if God has done something special or different in your life, you've learned some things during these past months where we've been confined. God has taught you some new things. Write that out. And what we'll do is have you email that or text it to Shirley, and then in our class we will read those things. And so take time to do that. It'll be encouraging to the rest of the people. So it'll be one way that we can still communicate and be careful. We'll be moving forward, we hope, step by step, and enlarging the opportunities that will be ours. But remember, let's be respectful to each other, and we don't want to cause anyone to somehow get the disease because we were not careful. If you are interested, over the past years we have recorded our Faithful Friends class on the DVDs, and you could purchase them for yourself or get them to take to some of the folks who are unable to be there. We're going to need some help with that. If you want to continue that ministry, we're going to need some volunteers. If that's something you'd like to get involved in, I think it's a great ministry. And if you'd like to get involved in that, we'll have a time of training for you, and we can pick that up and carry it on again. So let us know, let me know, let Shirley know if that's something that you would like to get involved in, and we'll make sure that you become ready and trained in that. We certainly live in a age of technology. There's no question about it. We are bombarded on every side, and many of us have learned a lot of things we never thought we'd ever learn. We didn't necessarily want to learn them, but to keep up, we've learned some technical things of computers and Facebook and all those things. Well, here's a mother. Here's a mother attempting to explain to her son how to simply open a book. Very interesting. Now, we want to go back to our study that we've been doing. I hope it's been helpful to you, but we've been looking at the nation Israel as they have moved out of Egypt and are on their way to the promised land, and they are faced with the first big test that they're going to have. They are in a position of fear, and they're facing an impossible situation. The Egyptian army is coming, and there's no way for the nation of Israel to get out away from them. And they're afraid they're going to get recaptured, they're going to get killed, and as you view the situation, there is no human solution. But God knows exactly what he's going to do and when he's going to do it. He always does. And that's why we have to keep turning to him and trusting him. But he's preparing the next step. He's preparing them for the next step. And we're looking at some divine directives there in chapter 14, in verse 13, 14, and 15, as he prepares them. He says, fear not, number one. Number two was stand firm. Number three was simply a very good thing. He said, I want you to see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. I don't want you to miss this. If you turn and run away, you're going to miss what I'm going to do. And folks, so often that happens to us. We're not there when God's doing something great. We want to be there. We want to be a part of what he's doing. And then we saw last week that he said, the Lord will fight for you. And we saw some places where the battle was the Lord's. You know, that was interesting. We talked about David and Goliath. And what gave David the confidence was that he knew the battle was the Lord's. It wasn't him. God said, what do you have, David? He said, I got a sling and a stone. And God said, use it. And he did. And God directed the stone. The battle was the Lord's. And there are times in our lives where we need to ask God, is this my battle or is this your battle? And if we try to deal with the battles that don't belong to us, we get frustrated and we get hurt. We come now to the fifth directive, and it's again very simple. It's three words. He said, be silent. To be silent. And the silent simply means to be quiet. To be quiet. To stop for a moment. And silence is really rare, isn't it? When you think about it, I was thinking about silence, and it's so rare. Maybe it's a beautiful warm day last summer, and you thought, I'm going to sit outside for a while. And you go and you sit down and it's quiet, but all of a sudden the neighbor begins to mow his grass and the silence is gone. The dogs begin to bark in the neighborhood. Somebody turns the music up loud. It's just very difficult, it seems, to find real silence. You go to the grocery store and they're playing music. I don't go there to listen to music. I go there just to buy the groceries. And there's noise. There's the music. I go to a gas station where at the pump there's a TV monitor, and they talk to you and do all this. I don't need that. I went there to get gas. Just difficult, just very difficult to find silence. The writer of Ecclesiastes in chapter 3 and verse 7 says there's a time to be silent and there's a time to speak. And only God, we need God's help to know what to do and when to do it. Is it time to speak? Is it time to be silent? Well, it seems like it's easier for us to speak, and then we get in a lot of trouble. It's easier for us to speak than it is for us to be silent. But here's the directive to Israel now is be silent. Now, why does God tell them to be silent? Well, because he goes on to say, be silent. The Lord said to Moses, why do you cry to me? And they had cried out before that, and I don't think it was a good cry. I don't know that they were opening their hearts to God. I think it was one of complaining, because if you read the text, beginning verse 10 and on, it said, they said to Moses, it's because there are no graves in Egypt that you've taken us away to die in the wilderness. What have you done to us, bringing us into Egypt? And they go on, complaining and murmuring about the situation that they were in. So I don't think it was good, a good cry to God. I think there was a lot of complaining. I thought of those people, that huge crowd of people. Can you imagine? Within that crowd, there had to be a lot of conversation, a lot of groups. It says that they feared greatly in verse 10. There was a group of them that were panicked. You ever see panicked people? They run around without purpose and bring confusion. I believe there was a group that were panicked. I think there were a group there that maybe thought, I think Moses is trying to trick us. He brought us out here to get us all killed and buried. He's got a deal going with Pharaoh. Pharaoh's going to take him back to Egypt and give him a position in the government. They just took us out here to kill us. There was a group that said, let's return. Let's go back to Egypt. Let's surrender. Maybe if we surrender, he won't kill us. Maybe a group that said, let's wait. Come on, guys, let's just wait and see. Let's see what Moses comes up with. Let's see if God has an answer. I don't think God brought us out here, did all those miracles in Egypt just to bring us out here and let us die. Maybe there were those who blamed Moses. It's his fault that we're in this situation. And God says, just be silent. Be silent. I was thinking of Psalm 23. That psalm never seems to run out. There's always something new there. And he said, the Lord's my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. You ever notice that? It says he makes me. We're too busy. I don't have time to lay down in green pastures. Sometimes he has to make us do that. And there's purpose in doing that. It's not just a waste of time, but he's saying, I want you to stop and be quiet. And then it says he restores our soul. That's how he does it. In the quiet times where he can speak to us and we can speak to him. And there's not a lot of noise going on around us so we can concentrate. And then he says that he will lead us in the paths of righteousness. So there's those three things. He says, lie down in the green path. Just stop. Just stop. He said, I'll restore your soul in the quietness, and then I will lead you. Sometimes I think he has a hard time leading us because we haven't listened. We're too busy to listen. We got too many things going on. So he is encouraging us here, be silent. And you can't think of those words without thinking of Psalm 46. Psalm 46. It says this, God is our refuge and strength, the very present help in trouble. Therefore we'll not fear, though the earth gives way and though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea. A tremendous verse. Let me just mention it here for a moment, then I want to really go to verse 10. But he says, God is our refuge. Make that personal. Say, God's my refuge. The refuge, remember in the Old Testament, God told Moses to set aside some cities. They call them cities of refuge. They were cities set aside where if you were in danger, you could run and there was safety. God is my refuge, my city of refuge. And then he goes on and says, a very present help right now. That's when we need help right now. I'm not going to worry about tomorrow. I need help right now. And if you have a marginal reference, you'll notice it may say there, well proven. God has been proven over and over again to be our refuge. And then he says this, he says, for God is my refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble right now. In that tight place, he's our help. Well, what I really want you to notice, I didn't want to skip that, but I just want you to drop down to verse 10. He said, be still and know that I am God. There's our words. Be still, be silent, and know that I'm God. I'll be exalted among the nations. I'll be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. He says, just be quiet. Just be quiet. It's the very opposite of our human nature, right? It was the opposite of Israel, who murmured and complained and accused, and who questioned Moses and questioned God. Now there's two divine directives here. The first one is be still. Okay? Be still. And the second is and know. K-N-O-W. There's something that's supposed to happen while we're being still. It's just not an empty period of time. We are to learn something. He said, I want you to know something. I want you to learn something while you're being quiet. And there's three things he wants us to know. First of all, he wants us to remember and know the sovereignty of God. He said in verse 10, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted. There's the exalt. There's a sovereign God, the mighty God. I'll be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And one day that will be true in its totality. Now it is true in our heart and in our lives. But the second thing he wants to us to remember and to learn is that the Lord of hosts is with us. That's the presence of God. His name will be called Emmanuel, he said, which is God with us. He's not on some distant planet. He's with you in your box. He's with you in the waiting room at the doctor's office. He's with you in the hospital. He's with you when you're closed in your home. And then the third thing, he said, the God of Jacob is my fortress. The enemy is coming. He said, get in the fortress. So there's three things. The first two, one, be still, and then number two, know. And then there are three things that we should know. We should zero in on the sovereignty of God. He's in control. He's the mighty God. The second is his presence. He's never going to leave us, never going to forsake us, no matter what trouble we find ourselves. And thirdly, he's our protection. He is our fortress, and we can run and find safety in him. Well, God's preparing the nation Israel. God knows the next step. God knows what he's going to do and when he's going to do it. And he's getting Israel ready for that moment, which is coming very soon. So he says, fear not. Stand firm. Look and see what God's going to do. Don't miss it. And then he said, remember, sometimes the battle is the Lord's, not yours. And then today, be silent. Be silent and learn. And I hope that we're learning. I hope we're growing. And I hope we're learning to trust him more and more. God is in your box. Be still. Let me pray with you. Father, thank you for your presence. Thank you for your promises. Thank you that you are the sovereign God and you're with us in our box. Your presence is always there, and you've invited us to come, and we do that. So I pray you'll help us to have a little silent time maybe, so that we can talk to you, but more than that, you can talk to us. Thank you for listening. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, looking forward to seeing you on Sunday, a great Sunday. It's the the time of celebration in the afternoon at 5 o'clock, and I hope you're planning to be there to rejoice together. God bless you. Have a great day.